Omada, who has sponsored this video, has asked me to introduce you to their newest product, the EAP787, which is a 10 gigabit per second capable Wi-Fi 7 access point. It's a tri-band H-stream wireless access point that can support just over 5,700 megabits per second on 6 gigahertz, over 8,500 megabits on 5 gigahertz, and around 688 on 2.4 gigahertz. Opening the box, we can reveal the access point itself, which is thankfully quite small, unlike some of their predecessor 10 gigabit capable access points. With it removed from the bag, this is the rear side of it, and of course the top. Looks pretty much very similar to their previous designs in terms of access points. Let's just set this aside for now. In here, we have some more information, a quick start guide for installation, and okay, looks like we have some mounting accessories inside of a smaller box. Yep, comes with all sorts of brackets, mounting accessories. Looks like pretty much everything you could ask for. Oh, what is this? Oh, cool. I haven't seen this before. So it comes with a little cover that you can, looks like it goes on the rear here to give it a nice uniform look. I don't think they have this on any of their other models. This is a first for me. That's pretty nice. All right, so mounting hardware, and of course it comes with a mounting plate. There we go, could find that, open it. And this one is a green color. Their previous ones I think were more of a white or like an off gray. And I'm colorblind, I'm guessing this is green. It may be a different color, but it looks like it's some sort of green. Let's flip the device over and take a look at the rear. So we do have a way to unlock this from the mount. So there's just a little pass through right here. And then also we have our 10 gigabit port. Now you do have to have PoE++ in order to get 10 gigabit speeds out of this. If you're at PoE+, you'll only get 2.5 gigabit networking. So it's important to know about this. We have a 12 volt DC barrel connector right here. And then of course we have our reset switch that is recessed in there. So you will need a tool to get in there to reset it. Everyone's always curious about a size comparison when it comes to ceiling mount access points. So we'll be taking a look at a U6LR compared to it, as well as another access point in the Wi-Fi 7 lineup from Omada, the EAP772. In terms of diameter, the 787 is the same diameter as the 772. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the same diameter as the Unify U6LR. Taking a closer look at all this cake, we can see that the 787 is thicker than the 772, but not quite as thick as the U6LR. It's been a very long time since I've opened up one of these wireless access points, and I really want to do it for this one, not for any reason in particular, just out of curiosity. It's got 6 screws that seems to be holding it closed, so let's get these removed and take a look at the inside. Right, so with the last screw removed, let's figure out how to open up the shell so we can take a look at the interior. It looks like we might be able to just pry this right open with our, oh, it comes right off. That's awesome, actually. It seems to be stuck. Something is holding on to it for sure. Not sure what. Oh, I didn't get out one of the screws. There we go. Now the shell just comes right off. Not too much to look in here, but we do get a good look at the antenna and everything going on. That's pretty neat. I do like that there is a black PCB in here. That's good attention to detail. I really do appreciate that. All right, there's 2 screws that I think we need to remove to get this PCB up, or so I hope. These are all soldered down and also stuck, so I'm not really sure what to expect when we try and lift this. This may not come up the way that I hope, or even at all, but we're gonna try and lift it. See what happens here. Okay, I lied. It seems to maybe be held down by thermal paste. Yep, it was thermal paste holding it down. Oh, the whole thing came out of the shell. That's perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. All right, look at that. Now that is really well done. This is actually really cool. I kind of want to take one apart and keep it apart permanently and put it on my wall of stuff because I think it would look really cool on there. And in case you're wondering, the entire back of this is acting as a heat sink, so pretty sure we're not going to have any heating issues. But yeah, this is really cool actually. I have previously been using the 772 wireless access point, and the 787 uses the exact same mounting bracket as this, so I don't need to actually use the one that came with it. We can just stick this one up on the ceiling.
And look at the camera.
With the access point mounted and connected to our network, it's time to adopt it and get it integrated into our environment. With the adoption completed, we just need to update the device to the latest firmware before we begin any of our tests. With the update complete, let's go check out one of the features of this, and that is using the dedicated RF radio. So what's really neat about the dedicated RF radio is we can run an interference detection without disrupting any of our users who are using this access point. So we're going to run a scan and let this go for a minute, and then we'll check back on it to see what kind of interference we're experiencing. Alright, our interference detection is done, so we can go to details here and take a look at the results. And on the 2.4 gigahertz band, there seems to be a lot of wireless access points transmitting on this frequency. And well, you can see all the channels, 11116, 11, and 7. So that's pretty cool that we can see all that, but there doesn't seem to be causing any major interference with us. Let's go to 5 gigahertz, and there's only a few systems able to reach this far to my house, and they don't really seem to be causing too much interference. And then finally, if we go to the 6 gigahertz band, it looks like we're the only people that have a Wi-Fi 7 or 6 gigahertz capable access point at this time. Another thing that we can do from here is actually do a packet capture without disrupting any of our clients. So we're just going to choose EAP. Of course, we're going to choose the new access point itself, the 787, hit confirm. We'll go to wireless, and we can choose between 2.4 or 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz. We'll just choose this by default, but I did want to point out it automatically does select the channel for you. So if you wanted to test other channels, you can. And then of course we need to select our SSID that we want. We could do stream or local. However, in this case, I would just like to do local, so it will save a PCAP file that we could open with Wireshark. Now, we're not going to actually view the PCAP file that it spits out, but if you did want to see what those results are, you can do that on your own with Wireshark. So anyway, this is running, and if we just go over to devices, we can see that the connection health is still good. We can go to clients, we can click on wireless, and see where our clients are. None of them have been kicked off, and everything seems to be going well so far. Now the packet capture is going to take about 30 seconds because that's what I set the time to. So we'll just go back here and wait for this to complete. Oh, it's already done actually. So because the duration was only 30 seconds. Download those files. They get put out into a zip file that we can unpackage, and inside of this zip file are our PCAP files that we can review the results with. That's a little bit outside of scope of this video. However, I did want to make you aware of this capability. The thing I'd like to do is actually take a look or overview of our 787. And so if we go to manage device, we get this really nice overview page that gives us a lot of different metrics and information and graphs about the device. There's quite a lot of detail in here, so I thought it was important to share this with you. And then we can go over to statistics, and we have some other scanning options here for our radio frequencies, interference detection, and our environment. So we can do scans right from here. Let's just go ahead and perform one of these somewhat quickly. All right, our scan is complete. It literally took 16 minutes and 59 seconds, basically 17. And so we can get some pretty good details about exactly what's going on from our scan. This is actually a really nice graph, and I really like this. It's pretty cool looking. We can see our 5 gigahertz as well, get information about what's going on with each of these. and 6 gigahertz as well. So we can see that there isn't much utilization on the 6 gigahertz band. And then of course, we also have the interference and environment scans down here, and we'll let this cook and take a look at the results in a second. All right, with our scan complete, we can check out each one of the channels. We can see there's virtually no interference on the 6 gigahertz band. 5 gigahertz band, there's also virtually no interference. We can even see there's 2% usage on the channel 149. Channel 140 is 2% as well. It's pretty neat. And then we can see there's lots of usage on the 2.4 gigahertz band, sorry. Channel 11 is highly in use. We get some Wi-Fi interference information here too. Very useful. I actually didn't even notice that for the 5 gigahertz band because there basically wasn't any. And the 6 gigahertz completely disappears because there is none. If we go to the environment, we get two different types of graphs here. We have a waveform graph. This one's probably pretty useful. So the x-axis are, of course, all the channels, like channel 11, so forth. The more negative the number is, the weaker the signal is. And then these bars, or they're kind of like bars that you see here, are the detected Wi-Fi signal energy and or noise on each one of the channels. So the taller this bar is, the stronger activity or the more interference you'll see. And this is scanning real time, okay? So this is going to adjust as we see it. And then of course, if we go to the 5 gigahertz band, we basically see the same thing on the different channels here. And again, the higher or the more negative this number, the weaker the signal. And 6 gigahertz, you see this as well. Very useful stuff. So our waterfall diagram here is a spectrogram. I'm not 100% sure how to read this in all honesty, but we have time here in seconds, and then we have our channels. For this one, essentially the brighter / hotter the colors are, the stronger signal or noise is at that frequency at any given moment. And that's basically all you need to know when you're looking at this. There's probably a lot more to it than that, but that's generally the gist of it. So let's go ahead and make sure this is done scanning. Okay, it is done scanning. Good. And we can check out some other features. We can go to logs. Doesn't look like there's any logs or events recently. Oh, here we go. Here's some events. Device disconnected. That was me playing around, so nothing too serious there going on. All right, some more logging. All right, let's go back to alerts. See if it was resolved. Oh yeah, so we had some isolation issues. That was probably also with me playing around. These all got resolved, of course. We go to tools. We have the network check, packet capit, and terminal. And then in config, we can see the different options in here as well. You can name your device if you don't like the name or the MAC address. Some more options here. Okay, let's check out wireless. So you can manage each one of the bands here. And just show off some different options, I suppose. I think this is pretty straightforward. I think the 5 gigahertz band will have one of the more interesting parts, 240 megahertz. It's pretty cool. And if I'm going too quick, just pause the video as we go through this. I don't want to go too quick, of course, but there is a lot to cover, and I'm trying not to make this video too long. Services tab, power savings if you need this for whatever reason, some IP settings. All right, I think that's good for the overview. The EAP787 is really designed to handle 500 plus clients, all hammering it at the same time, trying to squeeze as much bandwidth as they possibly can from it. So me walking around with my single Wi-Fi 7 capable laptop is really not going to prove much here, but of course I did speed test for fun, and at some points I would see around 2.7 gigabit per second down and 2.9 gigabit per second up, which is obviously very good. If only this thing was able to go any faster, that would be pretty cool. As per usual with speed testing, I stood around various spots in my house and ran the speed test 5 times and averaged the results together. I only tested the 6 GHz band and 5 GHz band, as these seem like the only relevant bands to test. For whatever it may be worth, the right side of the house is close to the neighbor, so all the bedrooms on that side often have strong signals to the neighbor's Wi-Fi. One thing I want to show off here is that you can get a full 10 gig stack for the price of $1,050, which I think is a pretty good deal. Of course, you get your 10 gigabit capable gateway / router, a PoE++ capable switch, that is all 10 gig, and then of course the EAP787 itself. And you got to remember, this is an 8-stream wireless access point. So if you're looking at other access points that might have 6 or less streams, the price will be cheaper. But typically with 8-stream access points, the price is always going to be basically $300 plus. So this is a very cost competitive one. Now, one thing we are omitting from this is the price of a controller. You have your free tier, which are going to be the things like the Omada Cloud Essentials, application management, and then of course you can self-host the Omada Cloud Management software itself. And then we have our 3 controller options, with the OC220 being the least expensive and the OC400 being most expensive. And of course these controllers have different prices, the OC220 being the cheapest at $90, and then the OC300 being $160, and the OC400 being $400. So obviously you're going to have to choose what works best for you. And again, there are technically two different free tiers too, if you want to save some extra bucks. So yeah, overall, I think that this price isn't too terrible considering what you're getting. And with all of the RAM shortages going on, at $1,140, I think this is pretty price competitive overall. If this is your first time buying Omada products, you can take advantage of this 10% off offer. This is very beneficial if you are new. If you are already a part of the Omada group, you can also save yourself 10% off on some of the products by following the links in the video description below. So definitely take advantage of that if you want to save some cash and you're looking to upgrade yourself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mammals, cats, dogs, chickens, ducks, and all that in between, I hope you enjoyed the content like this and found it somewhat useful. And with all that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Peace.